All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. NFL honors wrapped up just a couple days ago, and Super Bowl Sunday is tomorrow. Now, obviously, I don't know about you personally, Christian, but I still always remember NFL honors being decided before the Super Bowl. So we're gonna do it that way, regardless.
Yeah.
And just gonna throw it out here too. We already did this. I messed this up. File got corrupted, whatever. We can replicate what we just did. We're gonna get into it once again. Now, start off. We're gonna go in order. First award that was given, Offensive Rookie of the Year. An easy consensus to get it started with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think this was the most obvious one here after we saw with the Commanders start off with a very great record they've been having for the past compared to the past records they've been having in the past couple of years there too. That Bears game, it was pretty much solidifying Jaden Daniels as probably the best rookie in this class so far there. Obviously, give the flowers to neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and obviously all the red class, even Bucky Irvin, who we love a lot there too. But I think this was just the most obvious choice here, where he's been able to already turn this franchise around in just 1 year of new everything. I'm gonna keep backtracking with what I've been mentioning: new management, new owner, new coach, him being the new QB, rookie QB, and absolutely turning it around. Wild card win, divisional round win, and obviously just a loss to a division rival in the conference championship. But nonetheless, this is obviously an outstanding season for Jaden Daniels and him and Dan Quinn. They're gonna build a very strong relationship them too. And they're gonna be now in contentions with Philly. They're probably gonna be the next two teams so far to battle in the East if the Cowboys decide to, Jerry Jones finally decides to actually do something. But as we're looking at right now, it's gonna be a nice battle between the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles for the next couple of years.
Yeah, keep the wishful thinking for your Cowboys, but we'll wait and see what ends up happening here. But yeah, just overall, obviously it's like I said at the start, it was a consensus. Sure, you could say, honestly, in my opinion, he should have been unanimous, but I can obviously
Yeah.
see, there's one guy that voted for Brock Bowers. I guess I could see, why,
He
but
was also record breaking, but I think
yeah,
this
record
was
breaking,
this
sure.
was
Say the same thing for
this was
Malik
the most
Neighbors, who
yeah.
only got third place
Yeah.
votes, so can throw your own
Yeah.
thing there. But just overall, sure, some receiving talents that got into this year too. But what Jaden Daniels did not only the regular season, and I know it's a regular season award, but back and with all of us, we got to think about, what he did in the playoffs. It's just phenomenal.
Exactly.
He did not play like a rookie. He played like a seasoned vet, and he's getting his recognition now. Going to Defensive Player of the Year, this is probably the most controversial one out of all of them. I know hey, let's be honest. With the guys, it was, I don't want to call it controversial, but it was so top heavy. Anyone really could have deserved to
There's
win
just some
it.
really great guys there too. And this thing with
Exactly.
that's been going on. I don't really touch onto it, but we know the NFL, they're very biased when it comes to the defensive line.
Obviously with the D-line linebackers, yeah.
Very biased with those guys. And I know people that have their records for Zach Bond. I'm not records. They have their case for Zach Bond, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson. I know which is one of those guys that you expect to win this. But for me, I love this pick. When they announced PS2, I was happy as hell for PS2. You just look at it: 4 interceptions, 306 total yards allowed throughout the whole year. Just straight impressive.
Hey, only a 10% target rate. That speaks for itself.
10.1, 10% target rate. Absolutely no quarterback throwing in his direction. And when they do, it's either not, I want to say pick. It's probably just gonna be a PBU or just straight lockdown defense. And I love it that then I was finally showing love to these DBs there too. But again, for the years to come, probably still gonna be biased towards the D line. But this is such a great role for Brassetain, especially on that top defense of the Broncos, being one of the anchors on the defensive back.
Yeah, and like I talked about throughout the season, I was always high on this Broncos defense, specifically anchored by PS2. That little point that he went down, obviously we saw the Broncos defense hurt. So you also see, he does show his value to that position for his team now. I think my biggest surprise, and sure, we talked about this before, Trey Hendrickson, in my opinion, probably was the one who should have taken it. That's if we're still looking at the D-line bias. But I think Trey Hendrickson, leading the lead in sacks by a wide margin. I think he had a good shout. But my biggest surprise is Zach Bond, only 2 first place votes, getting 5th place in voting. The kind of breakout season that he got, and really, in my opinion, he deserved to get a lot more recognition. But we'll see if he can shut up the doubters in the Super Bowl tomorrow night. But moving into Offensive Player of the Year, and now we go from controversy to zero controversy here with Saquon Barkley. Now, 2,000-yard rusher, no debate who deserved to win it. I guess you can say what you want. It's not too much that we could really say. Argue for the top. But I know we have some debate to talk about the rest of the voting, and in particular, Jamar Chase not getting a single first place vote. Yeah, exactly. And just
look, obviously we know for the OPTY, Saquon is going to be the runaway favorite. I know him. It was probably going to be between him or Henry. But I think for Saquon was obviously the obvious bet after having such turmoil down in New York, dealing with the injuries, just not looking like his old self, already getting the wash allegations. 1 year into Philly, 2,005 rushing yards, 278
Definitely
receiving
had a
yards.
legit shot to break
Yeah,
Dickerson's
and
record
then
if it wasn't Kirk getting benched.
yeah, and then 15 total yards. 15. This already what he's been doing great. Nothing really he hasn't been doing in New York. This is really going back to New York in the front of just showing you gave up on Saquon for Daniel Jones, and look at him thriving with Philly, your division rival on his first year, and he's ready to play in the Super Bowl in Top's time. But this is really nice to see that Saquon's finally getting the love again once again. But with Jamar Chase, at least not one first place vote. That's kind of where I kind of at least like I can have an argument that Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
And again, the bias is
which the
going
one
because
thing
Saquon's on the winning team.
And the one argument, I mean, forget winning team. The one argument that I did make to you in that last part, you can argue, the Triple Crown, it's you're just leading the league in stats. Saquon did something historic, so at the end of the day, you could push those two aside. I definitely wouldn't put this Triple Crown on the same level as Cooper Kupp, what he did a couple years ago when he almost broke Megatron's record. So that's its own thing you could throw here. But my main concern here, Lamar Jackson getting second place with 12 first place votes. We know MVP is a quarterback award, so why do we give quarterbacks so much recognition here for offensive player of the year? I think, look, if you're not going to give running backs and receivers an opportunity to win MVP, this should be their award. And it's surprising to me to see Derrick Henry and Jamar had to get pushed below Lamar on this.
Yeah, those 12 probably should have gotten Jamar. Still wouldn't have won, but at least if you would have got some first place votes, it would have been really better for obviously for his character. But at the end of the day, honestly it's really annoying to see, to be honest. When I'm reading through all that, 0 first place, I was looking kind of getting a little hit just being thrown like Jesus Christ. But I mean, 0 first place votes, maybe not the big concern, but to see Lamar get them, then it becomes a concern. That's what I'm reading with the Lamar. I'm just like, come on now. But again, Saquon, you can't hit on this historic season.
Absolutely not.
And like we just mentioned, this is obviously one of the better picks here. Now moving on with the comeback player of the year, Joe Burrow. Obviously, he's doing it all. The injuries, the team he has, no defense. He's been doing it all. Unfortunately, it just looks like the outcome that his team's been going after that one big super run there too. But when we're looking down into the stats, basically 100 yards shy of 5,000 passing yards, 4,918, 43 pass TDs, and 108.5 passing rating. This is really just outstanding vet quarterback numbers there too. I know we mentioned maybe JK could have made a choice there too, but he didn't really do it.
And I know, you could say JK, you could say Gonzo, one of your favorite corners in the league.
I was making a case for Gonzo early on in the season.
But you also really have to take into consideration for Joe Burrow to come off a season-ending injury, to play at an MVP level, obviously MVP finalist. I think it's no surprise in my opinion that he's the most deserving in this award. I think the main thing that we really got to talk about is Sam Darnold. What's he doing here? I mean, we know the guidelines for comeback player of the year were changed after Joe Flacco winning after just coming off the bench. Geno Smith coming back from playing ass. Just all of a sudden, we're actually making this coming back from injury. And I think the only other thing too, I mean, Damar Hamlin. I mean, is he just going to get shooting for every single year now?
I think his should have just been a one-time thing. What exactly has he done on the Bills on the defense?
Here's the thing, I understand. This year he's actually been an impact player for the team. So but this award should have been his last year or whatever.
It's long gone. It's all past that. It shouldn't have been. But again, you really can't go wrong with Joe Burrow.
That's what ends up happening. That the Joe Flacco getting the award last year kind of threw a lot of things off, and that threw this off.
They did put the new rule in now that it's not just being a bum and good. You have to come back from a
and we still get Sam Darnold getting third place, getting it over your boy Gonzo, which
exactly.
And
I would have. Yeah, Gonzo, like I said, I love Gonzo, him coming back from the injury. He's being other lockdown, obviously overshadowed by PS2 because, he's obviously having a slightly better season. But, I mean, what can I say? Gonzo, he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league in the years to come. And now moving on with the defensive rookie of the year, Jared Verse on your Rams. So I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What can I say about him? This was my pick early in the season, People could have said it was biased, but I genuinely put the bias aside when I look at this one. I mean, easily, you could see this guy was going to be a disruptive force. I mean, the Rams kept him out of the preseason for a reason. This was a talented guy. And, I mean, look, a lot of stat warriors out there. Same thing, which is something that we'll get into in just a bit. I know you're excited to get into people who really want to care about stats, but, you look at the stats, Jared Verse might not pop out at you, but it's what he was able to do that, unable to get those stats. I mean, he garnered so much attention. He was just easily the most disruptive rookie on the defensive side of the ball. Sure, only 4.5 sacks. He had those two forced fumbles, which two were huge. And, he had his own great performances in the playoffs that you obviously regular season award, but you definitely got to mention that. Not only do you have to mention, the stats were brought down a little bit by all the attention he was gaining by offensive lines. Braden Fisk also on the other side of the ball, he's not a finalist for Defensive Rookie of the Year if it's not for him getting all that attention. Obviously all the attention Verse gets. Fisk ends up getting 8.5 sacks, and obviously another great rookie there, which we see them using that camaraderie that they gain at FSU, obviously working very well together. Only thing that I really do want to say, I mean, looking at the finalists and, Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Chop Robinson, great players. But I'm surprised Mikey Sainer still didn't get the nod to get into this finalist.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of players on this one. I know a lot of Eagles fans, they're doing their own case for Quinyon, but with the impact that Verse had on that defense, and even a bigger story, because coming in when you guys drafted him, you guys were really skeptical on how is he going to be Aaron Donald's long-time replacement. Obviously. And look at him, he's already filling up that gap, bringing Fix alongside with them. 2-for-1 special.
Which is exactly what I said at the beginning of the season. We're replacing him by committee, and obviously Jared Verse was the focal point leading that committee, and obviously we see that ended up working just absolute wonders.
Yeah, exactly. So the future is bright, obviously, for the Rams team, but obviously a lot of contracts.
Wait, when we have to pay all these guys.
Exactly. That is the only bad thing about listening that you mentioned, drafting all this top talent. And now moving on with the coach of the year, and it's Kevin O'Connell. And honestly, I know a lot of people are complaining. I've seen a lot lately, but I know there's some cases for Dan Campbell. But that whole Lions team was stacked. I mean, Dan Campbell had everything to work with. Kevin O'Connell on the other hand. One thing,
and I'll let you get to KOC because I'm always gonna give my flowers to a former Rams OC. But I mean, look, you go 15-2, you sweep the division, and you have all those injuries on both sides of the ball, mainly on defense. So I could definitely see the argument. Don't get me wrong.
There is an argument, yeah.
Though there's an absolute argument.
Yeah, but what Kevin O'Connell had to work with, I mean, you draft JJ McCarthy for Kirk's replacement, right? Ends up not playing the season for an injury. You end up running with Sam Darnold as your starter. Now you're thinking, we still have Jettis. Now the complaints, who's going to be throwing to him? I'm not going to lie, I was also guilty of that. I didn't think Sam Darnold was going to have a great season that he had in the regular season. You too as well. But Sam Darnold absolutely just out of nowhere playing like he played in USC. I mean, let's be real here. It was really nice to see, one of our USC boys finally shining out. The whole team, Jay Jettis still feasting, and then the whole defense. Him, Kevin O'Connell having Brian Flores alongside as his DC. That whole defense was honestly, it's amazing. They kept the clutch in a lot of games there too. Defense dealt with the kid, but obviously sometimes the offense couldn't do much. What we've seen in the Rams game and in the Detroit game for the division, but this was a 100% really well deserved for Kevin O'Connell, and probably one of the better Coach of the Year awards we've seen in the past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the main thing, hey, he made Sam Darnold look like an MVP. Exactly. That speaks for itself. No disrespect to Sam, but I mean, let's be honest. But I mean, I think the only other point that you kind of can make, Dan Quinn. If it was any other year, man, this is easily an award that you would definitely throw him up for contention. I mean, everything we said about Jaden Daniels, you could say about him. Obviously the new ownership knew everything into his scene, and I mean, hey, the guys in the NFC North were just too much. I mean, they just had two phenomenal seasons, but easy got to give Dan Quinn his flowers. But moving on to the big one, MVP. Now, Christian, this was your preseason pick, and I know you got a lot to get off your chest with a certain fan base, so I'll just let you take it away.
Yeah, so Josh Allen finally gets his MVP. I'm not even gonna lie, this is probably my best take I've had so far since we started the channel, and I'm gonna live down this take, for the years to come. Josh Allen is 100% the most deserving player of the MVP, and when we're looking down in the offseason, the Bills they were pretty much cleaning house on defense, and we mentioned it before in a couple of videos. Cleaning house on the offense, on defense.
Which is why, I mean, stupid take by me, but I took the Dolphins to win this division because they lost so many pieces.
Yeah, and exactly. And before we were doing our preseason, I think it was our preseason predictions for the records, I was really looking into the Bills a little bit more because of their key piece loss. I'm looking into this, but they filled in the gaps for what they really needed to, and I'm like, it's Josh Allen. If this Bills team is going to succeed, it's going to be on Josh Allen, and he absolutely carried this team here. And I know a lot of people, the bigger picture here, everyone's complaining Lamar Jackson should have won because of his stats. Look what happened in 2023. Crickets for Dak Prescott, who had by far better stats than Lamar Jackson. But he can't win big games. You really look into it, Dak's defense sold them majority of those games, right? Anyone looking at that, they're just being biased, just their biased hate towards Dallas and Dak Prescott, all this unjustified hate. Now, do you want to push the narratives with the stats that Lamar Jackson should have been over Josh Allen? No, you compare both teams. Lamar Jackson, outside of him, he has 9 Pro Bowlers. You have Derrick Henry as your running back. Obviously, any quarterback with Derrick Henry is probably going to succeed if you're getting wrong here. The receivers, the defense, top defense, and everything. Josh Allen, 1 Pro Bowler. James Cook, and not obviously nothing bad toward James Cook. I love James Cook. I really, really love James Cook. But when you compare both teams, the Ravens actually had a lot to work with Lamar Jackson. That whole team was complete around him. Same with the Bills, right? You had Khalil Shakir coming in as your leading receiver, and he popped off. Allen made him as pretty much a top receiver in this league there too. Everything was set. This Bills defense as well there too. They lost their key pieces. They got more keys back, and they bounced back. This is 100% the most deserving MVP award for Josh Allen there. And again, this is just showing a lot of people bias hate, and they just don't know what they're talking about. You want to bring the stats narrative in? Don't. You might as well just don't, because again, crickets from the 2023 season. Josh Allen, 100% deserved, and I love seeing these Lamar fanboys cry. Call me a Cowboys fan all you want. Keep recycling the same jokes that I'm a Cowboys fan. You don't know what you're talking about. Keep recycling it. Keep recycling it. I'm numb 12. I'm used to it. Josh Allen, he's gonna be haunting the Ravens for the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll see. Hey, he haunts Lamar and Mahomes haunts him. But I mean,
it's a triangle. It's a triangle.
Exactly.
It's a triangle.
But I mean, yeah, look, obviously a lot of people's ball knowledge being exposed with all these takes. I mean, just realistically, I mean, look, when you think about it, you know, everyone was expecting Josh Allen to really fall off, considering losing his top receiver in Diggs, and, you know, not going to put Gabe Davis in some high regard, but he was a big part of this Bills offense. So losing those guys, a lot of people, including myself, I'm going to eat my words, expected the Bills to have a down year, but obviously a absolute carry job for him. That Rams game, that's the game, the point that I really bought in, that this was Josh Allen's award to lose, and obviously we see what ended up happening here. Now, obviously that kind of does it for the main football related awards. Now, obviously every year we want to touch on the Walter Payton Man of the Year, the humanitarian award. Obviously, you know, football aside, you know what we always talk about. You know, you can't really say, oh, this guy deserved it. You know, everyone's deserving, but it's nice to always see, you know, someone get highlighted. And this year's award winner, Eric Armstead, I mean, it was really nice, you know, seeing the video package right before he got called up, seeing, you know, what he does with kids and getting them into reading. Obviously something really inspiring to see. And, you know, it's always really nice and obviously inspiring to see the NFL always, you know, just hold this award in such high regard and seeing the human side of these players. But 4 players got called up to Canton a couple of days ago. Now let's get into them. I mean, Jared Allen, Sterling Sharp, Eric Allen, and Antonio Gates.
Yeah, so obviously Antonio Gates, one of the times that we've actually got to see in the recent years. I know you had your little stint with the Chargers, but obviously one of the best times we've seen in recent time, at least for us. Obviously, that is deserving in my eyes. But I want to touch on with Sterling Sharp just a little bit more. Absolutely. I know a lot of people, and I know you know, him getting into the Hall of Fame before Torrey Holt. Now, obviously, I got my case, and it's Torrey Holt, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not,
yeah. I mean, you know, I'll get into that in just a bit, but yeah, you know, the everything that we talk about Sterling Sharp, I mean, sure, you know, injuries, you know, cutting his career short, and, you know, having a shorter career, I guess, you know, not in the same way, but you could compare it similarly to Megatron's career. But I mean, seeing Sterling Sharp in the era of Jerry Rice, to be able to go bam for him, being the only guy that goes neck to neck with Jerry Rice. I mean,
Sterling Sharp was going band for band with Jerry Rice in his prime. For those couple years in his NFL before his career-ending injury, he was going neck to neck, toe to toe with Jerry Rice. Record breaks, everything there. He was on set to even break even more records beyond that, right? He was leading stats at everything in his position, but obviously injuries. Everyone hates them. We hate them. We wish they were never a thing, and unfortunately, they got cut short. But from what Sterling Sharp was able to do for such a short amount of time, in my opinion, all of that in that little time period,
nice 100% for the NFL to be able to, you know, allow him, you know, not let the short career, you know, cut it short. I mean, obviously, a lot of times, I mean, it's not on the same level, but, you know, a big guy for me, you know, Todd Gurley. Sure, he had a shorter prime, but, you know, he was definitely on a Hall of Fame pace, and it hurts me. You know, he's going to be Hall of Fame eligible next season. It's crazy to believe. Obviously, he's not getting in, but it's crazy to consider that he retired. You know, already it's been long enough that he can be Hall of Fame eligible. But, you know, sure. Also, we could touch up on Jared Allen, you know, force on the Vikings defense, also time with the Chiefs. We didn't really get to see him. I guess we kind of did catch the end of his career, but, you know, obviously a lot of appreciation to his career. Eric Allen, Eagle, still got to give him his credit. Obviously look back into his career. His 1993 season, the stuff of legend, defensive player of the year and getting 4 pick sixes, obviously always got, it's honestly surprising to me looking at his career to see that he barely made it in, but I got to get into the snubs. I know you got one that you want to talk about, but Torrey Holt, I know we just alluded to it. I'm going to just list out his accolades, man. 920 receptions, over 13,000 yards, and 74 touchdowns. If that's not a Hall of Fame career, I don't know what is. Being the absolute anchor on that greatest show on turf that obviously I didn't get to watch, sure, let's be honest, but I know about that greatness, a 7-time Pro Bowler when that meant something. So, just be honest. Let's just hope that he makes it in 2026 because it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah, honestly, Torrey Holt, I know you were going to touch upon that a bit. I'm surprised you didn't, you have a big ass right now about that. But I know Torrey Holt, he's going to get in very, very soon. And I know you're going to get to
We've been waiting.
But again, it's been a long time. I know I got one too. Darren Woodson, former safety for the Cowboys. He holds the franchise record for most tackles with 1350, man. 1,350, what he's able to do, and then obviously selected to 5 Pro Bowls and then 3 Super Bowls, winning 2 of them. Obviously being a big asset on the defensive back position with the Cowboys. Obviously, I didn't get to see him play, but thankfully I have my dad gave me stories, saw his play, and obviously it's been long enough. This is just another Drew Pearson situation where it took that long for Drew Pearson to get into the Hall of Fame there too.
Which is wonderful that he finally made it in.
Yeah, I'm really glad there too, and 100% deserving. And with Darren Woodson, love to see. I wish I got to see him to play, unfortunately, but I'm really expecting. Hopefully after this, maybe Torrey Holt, Darren Woodson get it inducted together. Could be something to see in the next couple of
years. Hey, let's hope to see it. Let's hope for 2026. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, regardless, congratulations to the 4 guys joining the immortality of Canton, Ohio. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And be sure to tune back in Monday morning as we recap, hopefully, a phenomenal game in Super Bowl 59.